In 2007, on the TV show 60 Minutes, New York Yankees third baseman Alex Rodriguez was asked if he had ever used steroids, human growth hormone, or any other performance-enhancing substance. His response was a flat no. Tonight, we know he was flat out lying. In our number one story, Alex Rodriguez, recipient of the two largest contracts in baseball history, on pace to break the career home run record, has today admitted the story is true. He tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs in 2003. Sports Illustrated reported Saturday that Rodriguez was one of 104 Major League players who tested positive for banned substances 6 years ago during survey testing to see how widespread the problem really was. There was to be no punishment for any player who tested positive then, nor any revelation of who did. Rodriguez, then of the Texas Rangers, was the American League's most valuable player that season. But federal investigators seized that list while gathering evidence in the scandal involving Barry Bonds, among other players. Sports Illustrated claimed 4 sources who corroborated that Rodriguez was on it and had tested positive for both anabolic steroids and methanolone. Today, he told Peter Gammons of ESPN that the Sports Illustrated reporter who co-wrote the story was a, quote, stalker, but he also confirmed her reporting while insisting he used the drugs only between 2001 and 2003, and only because he was intimidated by the record-breaking $252 million contract he had signed in 2001.
I was young. I was stupid. I was naive. And I wanted to prove to everyone that, I was worth, and being one of the greatest players of all time. And I did take a banned substance, and for that I'm very sorry and deeply regretful. And although it was a culture back then, and in Major League Baseball overall was very I just feel that I'm just sorry. I'm sorry for that time. I'm sorry to my fans. I'm sorry for my fans in Texas. It wasn't until then that I ever thought about substance of any kind. And since then, I've proved to myself and to everyone that I don't need any of that.
And your screw-up is a big deal when it comes up at a presidential news conference. The best-known fan ever of the Chicago White Sox was not happy tonight.
It's depressing news on top of what's been a flurry of depressing items when it comes to Major League Baseball. And if you're a fan of Major League Baseball, I think it tarnishes an entire era to some degree.
I'm joined now by an old friend, 1974 kind of old, uniquely qualified to assess this story. Rick Cerrone, formerly head of media relations for Rodriguez's Yankees and formerly vice president of public relations for the Pittsburgh Pirates, who also worked in PR for 2 different baseball commissioners and who's now, appropriately enough, a media crisis advisor. Good evening. This is kind of a media crisis.
Good to see you.
And it's good to see you, too. The first time we ever did an interview, I don't think either of us could have grown a mustache. You were through this almost exact same scenario as PR director of the Yankees. Jason Giambi went through this. The steroid testimony in the grand jury testimony came out. Having followed that as sort of a precedent, did Alex Rodriguez do it the right way today?
Well, he's off to a good start. He's off to a very good start, but it's only the top of the first. He's got a long way to go, and if Alex is home right now having a dinner and saying, wow, the worst is behind me, I don't think that's quite true.
If he did one thing deftly, I thought, and whoever was advising him might have suggested this, I'm not sure, he admitted to the use of this in the relatively distant past. Thus, did he contain this? Because you're saying now, we're asking about what he did or didn't do in 2001, 2, 3. What does that mean for the implications of his overall arc of his career, all those other questions. We're not asking what did he or did he not do from 2004 to, last week?
Well, Keith, we hope that what he did was tell the truth, and that was the time frame when he did use it. You also now have testing since 2004, so yes, in some ways maybe that contains it, but you have to hope, and I believe he did, tell the truth and move on from there.
But we have testing for steroids. We don't have testing, unfortunately, for human growth hormone or Lord knows what else that you and I wouldn't even know about.
Well, the first thing I would tell anyone, tell the truth. So you have to hope that that's what happened today.
And maybe, is there any suggestion that he followed what happened with Giambi as a kind of a touchstone to this, or what happened to Mark McGwire when he was, let's not talk about the past?
Well, Mark McGwire and Jason Giambi and others. I mean, you look at the scorecard of who's done well in this. It's those who've been humble, those who've asked for forgiveness, years, and those who have done something positive going forward. And that's what Alex has to do now. Alex has to work as hard off the field now as he does on the field.
All right. What do you mean by that? I mean, what does he do next about the fans? He lied on 60 Minutes. Now, he said he was lying to himself,
right.
So of course he's going to wind up lying to Katie Couric.
Right.
But how does he get fans to believe that this isn't some sort of improved version of the same lie?
Well, it's almost irrelevant that he can't convince anybody right away. If someone's not going to believe him, they're not going to believe him. It's just by the way he conducts himself consistently. This may sound funny, but I would say sign a lot of autographs.
Yeah.
I mean, Jason Giambi did that and did it and did it and did it and did it. Interact with the fans. Show them that you're a real person. But the one thing he said today that really jumped out at me, I said, thank you, is that he said, I want to help kids. I'm going to spend my time. And he talked about not helping kids just at the Boys and Girls Clubs, which he does. It's help people in terms of education about steroids and illegal performance-enhancing drugs. I don't know that anyone's done that yet. He could make a great contribution if he does that.
Rick, why attack the reporter? Does that help?
Well, I think if in assessing it, and if I was to talk to him beforehand, I would say, don't go there. I think that was the mistake he made. Those were some serious allegations that he made against the reporter. I think he muddied his great, not to say performance, but he muddied his taking accountability for that by throwing in, I take full responsibility, but by the way, it was gotten inappropriately.
Why? We're focused obviously on Alex Rodriguez because he's theoretically one of the great players of all time, and perhaps that status has been changed now. But what about baseball's problem? I mean, the Mitchell report came out with a huge fanfare. This is going to be the finale. This is going to be the end of this. Doesn't say a word for obvious reasons one way or the other, but doesn't say a word about Alex Rodriguez. Jose Canseco's second book says something about Alex Rodriguez that turns out to be much closer to the truth than the Mitchell report.
Right. But again, it's pre-2004. It's pre-testing, so you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. And you know better than anybody that baseball is very, very resilient. It's a great game. People love it. It's going to do very well. I think Alex Rodriguez will get through this. He's got a lot of work to do it, though, and it's not over yet.
But in both cases, his personally and baseball's as a sport, if there's any other revelation that comes out now, they're both in trouble. This had better have been the truth. There better not be something else from 2005.
Well, you certainly have to hope that's the case, and that was the case with anyone else too, whether it's Andy Pettit or with Jason Giambi, and you certainly have to hope that's the case with Alex Rodriguez. But it was a good start. Rick
Cerrone, former media director of the Director of Media Relations for the Yankees. Again, the English just left me tonight. Now of Rick Cerrone Communications, media crises a specialty. Responding to them, not causing them. That's my job.
You never know, though.
Well, of course, if you can branch out to that, too. Good to see you, my old friend.
Thank you, Keith.
That is Countdown for this, the 2,102nd day since the previous president declared mission accomplished in Iraq. I'm Keith Olbermann. Good night and good luck. A live late-night MSNBC coverage continues now with the Rachel Maddow Show on the presumption that of the two of us, Rachel can continue to speak the English language because I'm done. Good evening.
Good evening, Keith. I will try.